I'm Tony Bedard, and I'm the writer on Marvel's Exiles series, along with a few other things. And this is
Paul Pelletier, the penciler on Exiles. And what else? You do Retro Rocket.
I do Retro Rocket over at Image, and I have another few things coming out pretty soon. JSA classified story for DC, and a few other things coming down the pipeline. I don't think DC is announced yet, so we'll get to that.
I just pencil Exiles. That's it.
How did you guys get together on Exiles? Was it just simply Marvel getting a couple people together and you got to work together, or did you meet at cons?
Well, Tony and I worked together back with CrossGen, a book called Negation, and after CrossGen kind of went by the wayside, Tony ended up writing Exiles for Marvel, and I was working on She-Hulk, Great Lakes Avengers, and actually DC contacted me to do a series for them. But I really wanted to stay with Marvel and do the Great Lakes Avengers, but since there was only 4 issues, I wanted to make sure I had something to follow. So Marvel asked me if I was interested in working on Exiles with Tony. I had to jump on the chance.
Right, because I had been secretly campaigning to steal Paul back. There's no way that wasn't going to work with this guy. We had a great time working together at CrossGen doing the Negation series, and it's really rare, I think, when you get that sort of synergy between within a creative group. You find somebody who collaborates well with you, and that's like a man. So as much as I can keep working with Paul, I'm gonna steal him back from whatever else he does next.
How do you prefer? As you said, you've got both Retro Rocket at Image, which is a creator-owned company, and we've got the Marvel, the Icon-based companies.
Right.
Which do you find more fulfilling?
They all have their pluses and minuses. If you self-publish, chances are you lose your shirt, so that's kind of a big downside, even though you get to tell whatever story you want. On the flip side, you get paid nicely, but who knows what you're going to wind up working on in some of the big publishers. So either or it's got its good points. The thing that I really enjoyed the most, though, was working at CrossGen, where even though we had to work within certain parameters, we were all there together, we got to bounce ideas off each other, and it really was creatively wild. I mean, it was a great place.
Anything to add?
No, well, except for the CrossGen experience creatively, which was great, because up until that point, whoever we worked with were in other cities, or you could only talk to them on the phone. This is the first time that we were able to get all the creative people together in the same place. So it was an experience like I had never had before. So, and I think that's why now on Exiles, the writing, the whole creative team are people from CrossGen. So we're trying to keep that creative juice flowing with the book. And I think with the latest 4 issues that we've been working on, it's probably the best we've done since the CrossGen days.
Well, tell everyone who's not already reading Exiles what's coming up in the next month or so. Give a little bit of a synopsis on what's gonna happen, and get them into the stores and picking it up.
Well, if you haven't ever checked out Exiles at all, it's a team of mutants that goes from one alternate reality to the next, basically saving the world every time. There's always some huge problem that they have to take care of, and so what you have is a chance to revisit some classic storylines. In the early issues of the series, they revisited the Dark Phoenix saga, or the Galactus thing. Basically, any really cool thing that you ever liked about Marvel Comics, we have a chance to just go back and play with that. A lot of times you stand it on its head, you do something completely unexpected and different with it. So, for example, the next issue that comes out is one that I think Paul and I are the proudest of and have the most fun on. This is the cover for it right here, and it's an issue in which there's an all-new Exiles team, but it's all made out of Wolverines. They're Wolverines that you've seen in different storylines or from different realities, all thrown together. It turns out there's a reason for it, but it was just a wild opportunity to just have fun with that character. It seems like he's in every book anyway, so we kind of in a way, had our cake and ate it too. We're thumbing our nose at the fact that this guy, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting Wolverine in the Marvel Universe. So we just threw them all into one story and had fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, growing up, I was always a big, Uncanny X-Men fan, so I always dreamed about drawing Wolverine, but after these 2 issues, I don't ever want to draw Wolverine again, so there's...
He got out of his system.
Oh, there's so many, but it was just a fun, wacky storyline. It reminded me a lot of the old Exiles storylines, which were just a lot of fun. So I think the fans will really get a kick out of it.
All right, well, let's change over to Retro Rocket.
Okay.
Let everybody know what it's about. It's coming out with the 3rd issue.
The 3rd issue just came out, and probably, I think it was in stores last week. And that's a book that I've been trying to somehow get off the ground ever since 1997. I met up with the artist, Jason Urpalis. Both he and I worked for Billy Tucci, the guy who did She. So he was basically self-publishing in Queens. We were working for him, and we looked at his success and thought we could do this. Well, it's never that easy, and so 8 years later, he had left comics and come back. I had gone through about 7 different publishers, and finally we were ready to do this thing. It's about an old robot. He's like 50 years old. Basically, the idea was, what if you got Gigantor, that old 1960s cartoon, and brought that guy into one of the newer things like Mobile Suit Gundam, where the designs are all much newer, and how could you keep up, in that world? What if you were a P-51 Mustang from World War II trying to keep up with F-18s now, and basically he's obsolete. He's about to retire, and then aliens show up with their own giant robots and destroy all the new model guys, and he's the only one left who can save the world. So he goes from being useless to being, the world's only hope. It kind of deals with certain things that I feel like personally sometimes when I can't figure out how to work my son's Game Boy or something like that, and also it gives me a chance to work out some of the stuff that I loved when I was a kid, like Ultraman was the very first show that I ever watched when I was a kid, or growing up watching Battle of the Planets and that sort of stuff. I know that anime is all over the place now, but a lot of that older stuff is the things that got me into this line of work to begin with. So that's what it's about.
Okay. We've got one last question for you guys.
All right.
We asked the question of all of our interviewees. We want to know, what is your drink of choice?
What is the what?
Drink of choice.
Well, see now, I don't drink, but if I had to,
Drink something.
Moxie.
There you go.
Moxie. Not many people have experienced Moxie, but when you do, it's quite special. So that I mean, granted, it's non-alcoholic, but it still provides quite a kick. So.
Hopefully, y'all are aware there is a soft drink called Moxie. It's out there somewhere. I mean, he's from Maine. I guess you can find it in stores.
It's a northeastern thing.
Right.
So.
And it tastes a little like, what? Cough syrup?
Carbonated cough syrup. I've heard some people say it's kind of like a soda version of Jägermeister. So it's Dr. Pepper's mean older brother.
Mean older brother.
Well, I guess for me it's Bushmills. Irish whiskey.
All right.
Good stuff.